Let's discuss about Form 1, Chapter 3, Squares, Square Roots, Cube, and Cube Roots. First, we have to know what is perfect squares. Perfect squares are formed when a whole number is multiplied by itself. For example, 2 times 2 multiplied by 2 equals to 4. Therefore, 4 is a perfect square because 2 multiplied by itself, which is 2, then we get 4. So 4 is a perfect square. Let's look at the other example. 8 times 8 equals to 64. So 64 is a perfect square because 8 multiplied by 8 multiplied by itself equals to 64. Now let's look at squares and perfect squares. The square of a number is the product of a number when multiplied by itself, which means the square of 4 is 4 times 4 equals to 16. The square of a number is written using the square notation. Like 4 multiplied by 4, you can write as 4 squared, like this. 5 multiplied by 5 is written as 5 squared. Exercise 1. Determine whether each of the following numbers is a perfect square. There are 3 questions here, so let's see how to solve for the first question first. 484. 484 equals to 2 times 11 times 2 times 11. You can get this 4 number by using the repeated division method to divide 484. Then we group it together like this, so you can get the same number. 2 multiplied by 11 equals to 22. So 22 multiplied by 22. 22 multiplied by 22 equals to 22 squared. Therefore, 484 is a perfect square because 22 multiplied by 22. 22 multiplied by itself again to get 484. The second question, 45 equals to 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 5. In this question, 3 multiplied by 3 equals to 9. So 45 equals to 9 multiplied by 5. 9 and 5 are both different whole numbers. So 45 is not a perfect square because 9 and 5 are different. The next question, 100 equals to 10 times 10. 10 multiplied by itself to get 100. So 100 is a perfect square. Now let's look at what are square roots. The square root of a number is a value that, when multiplied by itself, gives the number. For example, the square root of 25 is 5, because 5 multiplied by 5 equals to 25. 5 multiplied by itself to get 25. So the square root for 25 is 5. Another example is 4 multiplied by 4 equals to 16. So the square root of 16 is 4 because 4 multiplied by itself to get 16. The symbol of square root is this. So if you type square root 25 in the calculator, you will get 5. The square of a number is calculated by multiplying the number by itself. For example, the question given is 13 square. So 13 square equals to 13 times 13 equals to 169. Now let's look at example 1. Complete each of the following. 32 square equals to 1024. Thus, square root 1024 equals to square root 32 square. 32 square means 32 times 32. So square root 32 square equals to 32 because 32 times 32 equals to 1024. This is actually you break out the 1024 square root. It's actually the same. So square root 1024 is equals to 32. Bracket 11 over 12 close bracket square equals to 121 over 144. Thus, the square root of 121 over 144 is 11 over 12. Because square means you multiply the number itself again. So 11 multiplied by 11, you will get 121. 12 multiplied by 12 equals to 144. So the square root of this is 11 over 12 because they need to multiply by itself to get this fraction. Exercise 2. Calculate the values of the following without using a calculator. So let's look at A, which is 1 and 3 over 8 close bracket square. So 1 and 3 over 8, we just break it out, take away the square, and it will become 1 and 3 over 8 times 1 and 3 over 8. Then we will bring this one into this fraction, make it become a fake fraction. So it's 11 over 8 multiplied by 11 over 8. 11 multiplied by 11 is 121. 8 multiplied by 8 is 64. So 121 over 64 is the final answer. B, 1.4 square. So the next step is we have to break it out, become 1.4 multiplied by 1.4 equals to 1.96. C, negative 5 over 6 close bracket square. So the same thing, we have to break it out, become bracket negative 5 over 6 multiplied by bracket negative 5 over 6. Negative 5 times negative 5 equals to 25 because this is negative times negative, so the answer is positive. Same goes to negative 6. Negative 6 multiplied by negative 6 is 36. So 25 over 36 is the final answer. Exercise 3. Calculate the value of each of the following without using a calculator. So we solve for A, square root 121 first. Square root 121 equals to square root 11 times 11. You can get 11 by using the repeated division method. You divide 121 and you'll get 11 and 11. Square root 11 multiplied by 11 equals to 11 because 11 multiplied by itself again to get 121. So the square root for 121 is 11. B, square root 50 over 128. So 50 and 128 are both even number. So we are going to divide 2. 50 divide 2 equals to 25. 128 divide 2 equals to 64. The square root for 25 is 5 and the square root for 64 is 8. So 5 over 8 is the answer. C. Square root 7 and 1 over 9. The next step is we convert 7 and 1 over 9 to a fixed fraction. 7 multiplied by 9 plus 1 equals to 64 over 9. Square root 64 over 9 become 8 over 3. 8 times 8 equals to 64. 3 times 3 equals to 9. So 8 over 3 is the answer. D. Square root 2.25. We cannot find a square root using decimal, so we convert it to a fraction. Become 2 and 25 over 100. Square root 2 and 25 over 100. Because 25 and 100 can divide 25, so 100 divide 25 is 4. 2 and 1 over 4. Then we convert 2 and 1 over 4 to a fixed fraction. 2 times 4, 8. 8 plus 1, 9. So it will become square root 9 over 4. Square root 9 over 4 equals to 3 over 2. Because 3 multiplied by 3 equals to 9. 2 multiplied by 2 equals to 4. Lastly, we have to convert 3 over 2 to 1.5 because the question is in a decimal, so our answer must be in a decimal too. Exercise 4. Calculate the values of the following. Give your answer to 2 decimal places. A. Square root 144 over 196. We know that 144 is equals to 12 multiplied by 12. So the square root for 144 is 12. And the square root for 196 is 14. We can use the repeated division method to divide 196 and get 14 times 14. Then we have to make it to its simplest form. 12 and 14 are even numbers. So 12 can divide 2, 14 also can divide 2. 12 divide 2 is 6, 14 divide 2 is 7. B. Square root 37.81. So this B, we just type this square root 37.81 in the calculator to get 6.1489. 6.1489 will become 6.15 because we need 2 decimal place only. 8 is bigger than 4, so 4 plus 1 becomes 6.15. C. Square root 12 and 5 over 6. So we convert this to a fixed fraction. 12 times 12 multiplied by 6 plus 5 equals to 77 over 6. We type this on the calculator. Square root 77 over 6 equals to 3.582. Then we have to convert it to 2 decimal place. Become 3.58 because 2 is smaller than 4, so 8 still remains the same, 3.58. Now let's learn how to estimate the square and square root of a number. For example, estimate the values of the following. A. 2.829 squared, 2.892 squared. 2.892 squared approximately is equal to 3 squared because 2.8 is closer to 3 compared to 2 because it's 8 behind. So 3 squared equals to 3 times 3. 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. So the 2.892 squared is approximately equal to 9. It's closer to 3. We can't calculate this on a calculator because we shouldn't use a calculator to estimate the value. B. Square root 58. So we know that 58 is not a perfect square. We have to find the perfect square nearest to 58, which is square root 49 and square root 64. Square root 49 is 7. 7 multiplied by 7 to get 49. 8 multiplied by 8 and it will equals to 64. So we can get that square root 58 is in between 7 and 8. Exercise 5. Estimate the value of each of the following. A. Square root 34. So 34 is not a perfect square. We have to find the perfect square nearest to 34, which is square root 36 and square root 25. Square root 25 equals to 5 because 5 multiplied by 5 equals to 25. Same goes to square root 36 equals to 6. The answer is 5 because square root 34 is closer to square root 36 compared to 25. So the answer is 5. B. 61 square. To solve this question, we have to find the nearest 10, which is 60 square and 70 square. Then we find the values of 60 square and 70 square, which is 3,600 and 4,900. The answer is 3,600 because 61 is closer to 60. So the answer is 3,600. 61 square is approximately equals to 3,600. C. Square root 17.6. Square root 17.6, we find the nearest perfect square between them, which is square root 25 and square root 16. So the value of square root 16 is 4 and square root 25 equals to 5. The answer is square root 17.6 approximately equals to 5. Negative 0.188 square. To solve this question, we find the nearest 10 to, which is negative 0.100 square and negative 0.2 square. Then we find the values of negative 0.100 square equals to 0.01 and negative 0.200 square equals to 0.04. The answer is negative 0.188 square approximately equals to 0.04 because negative 0.188 is closer to negative